The security footage plays on the restaurant's big screen. Every guest freezes. My son's face, caught in high definition, hunched over my kitchen table at 2 in the morning, practicing my signature over and over again. His wife stands behind him, whispering numbers from my bank statement. The check he forged was for $500,000. And right now, everyone he's ever tried to impress is watching him become a criminal. Thank you for being here with me today. Before we go on, tell me in the comments where you are listening from. I always read them. This story contains some fictionalized details added for emotional depth. Any similarities to real people or places are unintentional. But the lesson at the end is something worth sitting with. The champagne glasses stop halfway to lips. 80 people in designer clothes and borrowed confidence. All of them staring at that screen like it might explode. The footage is grainy in the way security cameras always are, but clear enough. Clear enough to see my son's hand gripping the pen. Clear enough to see his wife pointing at a number on the page. Clear enough to see him sign my name with a steadiness that tells you this was not his first attempt. It was his 48th. Brandon stands at the front of his brand new restaurant. The one he opened with money he stole from me. And his mouth opens, but nothing comes out. His wife Nicole grabs his arm. Her eyes are scanning the room for exits. She will not find one. There are 2 plainclothes officers by the front door and 1 more near the kitchen. They have been here since 7 o'clock, nursing sparkling water and waiting. My daughter Lisa stands beside me. Her hand finds mine in the dark. She squeezes once. I squeeze back. We have been planning this moment for 6 weeks, and now that it is here, I feel nothing like triumph. I feel tired. I feel old. I feel like a man watching his own house burn down and knowing he is the one who lit the match. But I did not start this fire. My son did. He started it the night he decided my signature was worth more than my trust. The night he sat at my kitchen table, beneath a portrait of his dead mother, and practiced forging my name while she watched from the canvas with eyes that used to light up every time he walked into a room. The footage keeps playing. 3 weeks of recordings compressed into 4 minutes, session after session. My son alone, at the table, my bank statements spread before him. My son on the phone with a wire transfer service. My son holding a finished check up to the light, comparing it to a real one, nodding with satisfaction. Someone in the crowd gasps. A woman near the bar covers her mouth. One of Brandon's investors, a man in a gray suit who wrote a $50,000 check 2 weeks ago, is already pulling out his phone. His lawyer will be expensive. Brandon's will be more so. Nicole breaks first. She yanks her arm free from Brandon's frozen grip and moves toward the side door. Fast. Heels clicking against the new hardwood floors that my money paid for. She makes it 4 steps before a woman in a black blazer steps into her path. Badge. Handcuffs. The sound of Miranda rights being read in a calm, professional voice that cuts through the silence like a surgeon's blade. Brandon does not move. He stands at that podium, microphone still in his hand, and he watches the screen. I think he is watching himself the way you watch a car accident, unable to look away, unable to believe that the person in the wreckage is you. Then he looks at me. Across the room, across 80 stunned guests and the ruins of everything he built with stolen money, my son looks at me. And in his eyes, I see something I have not seen in 2 years. He sees me. Not the old man in the attic, not the free cook, not the signature on a check. He sees his father. It lasts 3 seconds. Then the officer reaches him. The microphone falls from his hand and hits the podium with a hollow thud that echoes through the silent room. His hands go behind his back. The click of handcuffs is quieter than you would think. Almost gentle. 47 minutes. That is how long my son's restaurant lasted. The same number as the practice signatures on that camera footage. I did not plan that coincidence, but I am an old cook, and I have learned that life has a way of seasoning its own dishes. Lisa's hand is still in mine. She is crying quietly. Not for him. For me. For what this cost me. For the 2 years that led to this moment. For her mother, who would have wept to see her son in handcuffs, but who also would have said, through her tears, that a chef who poisons his own family has lost the right to call himself a cook. But to understand how we got here, to truly understand why a 69-year-old man would stand in a restaurant and destroy his own son's life, I need to take you back. Back to a kitchen that smelled like ginger and grief. Back to an attic room above a restaurant where I cooked 18 hours a day for free. Back to the morning I woke up and realized that my son did not love me. He loved what my hands could make him. That is where this story begins. Not here, in the wreckage, but there, in the silence before the storm. In a cramped room that smelled like yesterday's cooking oil. In the space between a father's hope and a son's betrayal. I wake to the smell of sesame oil and stale grease. It has soaked into the walls of this room, into the thin mattress beneath me, into my clothes and my hair and the creases of my skin. 2 years of living above a restaurant kitchen will do that. You stop noticing after a while. Then one morning you realize you cannot remember what clean air smells like. 5:15 in the morning. The attic is still dark, except for a sliver of gray light leaking through the single window near the roofline. The window does not open. It was painted shut long before I moved in, and no one has bothered to fix it. I asked once. Nicole looked at me like I had requested a renovation. This room was storage before it was mine. You can still see the outlines on the floor where shelving units stood for years. The dust patterns tell the story better than I can. They moved the shelves, dragged in a cot and a plastic dresser with 3 drawers, and called it a bedroom. My son stood in the doorway that first week and said, "Just until you get back on your feet, Dad. That was 26 months ago." I swing my legs over the edge of the cot. My knees protest the way they always do now. 69 years of standing in kitchens will grind the cartilage down to nothing. The floor is bare plywood, unfinished. Cold against my feet even in summer. In winter, it feels like stepping onto concrete. My morning routine is mechanical. Wash my face in the small sink in the corner, the one they installed for the cleaning supplies that used to be stored up here. The water runs warm if I let it go for 2 full minutes. I have timed it. Dress in the dark because the overhead bulb burned out 3 weeks ago, and I have not been given a replacement. Fold my sleeping clothes, tuck them under the pillow. Old habits from a lifetime of keeping kitchens organized. A place for everything. May would hate this room. She would hate the stained ceiling tiles and the exposed wiring and the way the floor creaks when I shift my weight at night. She would hate that our son charges me $900 a month to sleep here. She would especially hate the lock. There is one, but it is on the outside. For the storage room it used to be, not for the bedroom it pretends to be. I cannot lock my own door from the inside. May died 3 years ago. Pancreatic cancer. Fast and merciless. The way that particular disease always is. Diagnosis in September. Gone by February. 5 months from the first scan to the last breath. I held her hand in that hospital room, and she held mine. And somewhere between the morphine and the midnight, she whispered something I have carried every day since. "Take care of our babies, Walter. Make sure they eat well." She did not mean food. Or she did not only mean food. May spoke in the language of cooking, because that was our shared tongue. 41 years of marriage, built around a kitchen table. Every celebration, every argument, every reconciliation happened with something simmering on the stove. When she said, "Make sure they eat well," she meant make sure they are nourished. Make sure they are good. I moved in with Brandon 1 month after the funeral. He drove to our house, the one May and I had shared for 30 years in Decatur, and he put his arm around my shoulders. "Dad, come stay with us. You should not be alone right now. We have room above the restaurant. It will be temporary. Just until you figure things out." I sold the house. Gave him half the proceeds for safekeeping because he asked. Because he said he would invest it for me. Because I trusted my son the way you trust the ground beneath your feet. I never saw that money again. When I asked about it 8 months later, he said the market took a hit. Bad timing. These things happen. I did not argue. I was still grieving. Still waking at 3 in the morning reaching for a woman who was not there. Still setting 2 places at the table before remembering. Grief makes you small. It makes you compliant. And my son, whether he knew it or not, was learning that a broken father is an easy father to manage. The restaurant opens at 11, but prep starts at 5:30. That is my job. Has been since the 2nd month I lived here. It started small. Dad, can you chop these vegetables while I handle the books? Then it grew. Dad, can you handle the lunch prep? I will take care of the business side. By the 6th month, I was running the entire kitchen. Breakfast prep through dinner service. 6 days a week, sometimes 7 when they were short-staffed, which was always. They do not pay me. Nicole explained it once with the patience you use for a slow child. We are family, Dad. This is not a job. This is contributing. You live here, you eat here, you are part of this household. Everyone contributes. She smiled when she said it. That bright, brittle smile that never quite reaches her eyes. $900 a month in rent. 18-hour days in the kitchen. No paycheck. No day off. No health insurance. No thank you. The order bell rings from downstairs. 5:30 on the dot. It cuts through the attic silence like a knife through ginger root. Sharp. Clean. Final. Another day. Another 18 hours standing over a stove that has made my son's reputation and my daughter-in-law's ambition possible. I pull on my kitchen whites, the ones I wash myself in the utility sink, because Nicole says the restaurant laundry service is too expensive to include my clothes. I tie my apron, check my reflection in the small mirror hanging from a nail on the wall. The man looking back is thinner than he should be. Grayer. Older than 69. But his hands are steady. His hands have always been steady. And those hands, the ones about to go downstairs and cook food that earns my son 6 figures a year, are worth more than anyone in this building knows. More than anyone in this building can imagine. I open the dresser's bottom drawer. Beneath my socks, beneath a folded undershirt, there is an envelope from Pacific Harvest Corporation. The quarterly royalty statement inside lists numbers that would change everything if anyone downstairs knew they existed. $2.8 million paid 3 years ago. $750,000 deposited every January since. My recipes. May's recipes. Our recipes. Sold to a national restaurant chain 2 months before she died. Her idea. Her insistence. Promise me you will finish what we started, Walter. Promise me those recipes will feed more than just our family. I promised. And I kept that promise. But I have kept it quiet. Because I needed to know something first. I needed to know if my son wanted his father, or just his father's hands. The order bell rings again. Impatient now, I close the drawer, straighten my apron, and head for the stairs. The answer to my question is becoming clearer every day. And it is not the answer I hoped for. The kitchen of Golden Walk is 12 feet wide and 22 feet long. I know this because I measured it myself the first week. The way a chef always measures his workspace. You need to know the distance between the stove and the prep station without thinking. You need to know how many steps from the walk-in cooler to the walk line. Your body memorizes the kitchen, so your mind can focus on the food. I have cooked in dozens of kitchens across 45 years. Hole-in-the-wall dim sum shops in San Francisco where the ceiling dripped condensation onto your neck. Hotel banquet kitchens in Las Vegas that could feed 3,000 in a single service. May and I even ran our own place for 11 years, a small noodle house in Decatur that never made us rich but never made us ashamed either. I know kitchens the way a pianist knows stages. And this one, my son's kitchen, is mine in every way that matters except on paper. 5:45. The prep list is taped to the wall beside the first station. Nicole writes it every night before she leaves, her handwriting sharp and precise. Julienne carrots, 2 hotel pans. Blanche bok choy, Full batch. Marinate short ribs. Tonight's special. Make dumpling filling. 120 pieces minimum. Prep wonton soup base. Slice scallions. Toast sesame seeds. The list goes on. It always goes on. I tie a fresh apron over my whites and begin. The carrots first. My knife moves through them in a rhythm that 45 years has made automatic. Julienne cuts. Each one 1/8 of an inch wide, uniform as matchsticks. A young cook would use a mandolin. I use a blade that May gave me for our 20th anniversary, carbon steel, Japanese forged, the handle worn smooth by decades of grip. It is the only valuable thing I brought to this attic. By 7:30, the prep is done. 2 hours of silent, focused work. My back aches where it always aches. Low on the left side. A gift from decades of leaning over cutting boards. My right knee clicks when I bend it past 90 degrees. But the mise en place is perfect. Every container labeled. Every protein portioned. Every sauce reduced and strained. And waiting. Brandon arrives at 8. He comes through the back door carrying a coffee from the place 2 blocks down. Not for me. Never for me. He glances at the prep station, nods once, and goes to his office in the back. The door closes. I hear him on the phone talking to vendors, negotiating prices for ingredients that I will transform into dishes that will earn him 4-star reviews. The lunch service starts at 11. By then I have prepped, organized, cleaned, and reorganized. I have tasted every sauce and adjusted the seasoning on 3 of them. I have trained the line cook, a 23-year-old named Miguel, who works hard but does not yet understand the difference between cooking food and creating it. I show him how to fold a dumpling so the pleats are even, how to control the heat on a wok so the vegetables blister but do not burn, how to taste with his whole mouth, not just his tongue. The restaurant fills. 12 tables, 60 seats. By 12:15, everyone is taken. The ticket machine screams. Orders stack up in a row of white paper that grows longer by the minute. I move between the wok station and the grill, calling out times, plating dishes, wiping rims. My hands know what to do before my brain gives the instruction. Fire the short ribs. Table 7. Wonton soup 2. Table 3. Dumpling plate, extra chili oil, table 12. At 1:45, Brandon emerges from his office. He puts on a clean apron, one that has never touched grease, and walks into the dining room. I watch through the pass window as he moves between tables, shaking hands, smiling that smile he inherited from his mother. Thank you for coming in. So glad you enjoyed it. We put a lot of love into every dish. We. As if he touched a single ingredient. As if he knows the difference between light and dark soy sauce without reading the label. A woman at table 6 stops him. I can hear her through the window. This is the best Chinese food I have ever had. The dumplings are extraordinary. Who is your chef? Brandon's smile widens. Family recipes, he says. 4 generations. My parents brought them from China. We are very proud to share them with Atlanta. His parents. His grandmother came from Guangdong province in 1952. His grandfather opened a laundry in Macon, Georgia. Neither of them cooked professionally. Those recipes were built by May and me over 41 years of marriage, trial and error. Thousands of failed attempts. Notebooks filled with adjustments, measurements, notes in May's careful handwriting, and my illegible scrawl. They are ours, not his. But he tells the story so well. He always has. Even as a boy, Brandon could make you believe whatever he wanted you to believe. May used to say he could sell rain to a river. She meant it as a compliment then. I am not sure she would mean it that way now. The dinner service runs until 10. 15 hours on my feet. My lower back has locked into a permanent ache that no amount of stretching will fix. My hands smell like garlic and ginger, and the faint metallic tang of the carbon steel knife. I eat my own dinner at 10:30, standing up in the kitchen, leftovers from the service. Whatever did not sell. Cold dumplings, overcooked rice, the dregs of the wonton soup. Nicole appears as I am cleaning the last station. She holds her phone in one hand, scrolling through something. "Great day," she says without looking up. "Revenue was up 12% from last month." Then she looks at me. Her eyes are calculating. Always calculating. "Do you think you could add a new special for next week? Something with lamb. Lamb is trending. I will figure out a new recipe tonight." In my head. Between now and 5:30 tomorrow morning, when the prep list starts again. She leaves without saying thank you. She never says thank you. I wipe down the final counter, hang my apron on the hook by the back door, and climb the narrow stairs to the attic. My phone shows one missed call. Lisa. 9:47 p.m. I call her back. My voice rough from 16 hours of heat and steam. "Hey, Dad." She sounds careful. "How was your day?" "Long," I say. "Same as always." A pause. Then, quieter. "Dad, are you happy there? Really happy?" The question hangs between us. I should say yes. I should tell her everything is fine. That I am contributing to the family. That Brandon and Nicole are good to me. I should say the things a father says to keep his daughter from worrying. But the silence stretches too long. And my daughter, sharp as her mother ever was, hears everything I do not say. Lisa comes on Saturday. She does not call ahead this time. She just appears at the back door of the restaurant at 2 in the afternoon, between the lunch rush and dinner prep, wearing that expression I know from her mother, the one that says I have made a decision and you will not talk me out of it. "Dad." She stops in the kitchen doorway. Her eyes move over me slowly, taking inventory the way I taught her to check a pantry. "What is there? What is missing? What has spoiled?" "You have lost 15 pounds. I wipe my hands on my apron. "I have been meaning to eat more. Just busy." She does not respond to that. She walks past me, past the prep station and the walk-in cooler, and looks up the narrow stairs that lead to the attic. "Can I see your room?" No. The word comes out faster than I intend. I do not want her to see it. The cot. The painted shut window. The lock on the wrong side of the door. She would burn this building down. She is her mother's daughter in that way. Lisa looks at me for a long moment. Then she takes off her jacket and hangs it on the hook by the back door. "Get your coat. We are going for coffee." It is not a question. We walk 3 blocks to a place called Morning Light. Small tables, exposed brick. The kind of coffee shop where people bring laptops and stay for hours. Lisa orders for both of us, without asking. Black coffee for me. She remembers. She always remembers. We sit in the back corner. The afternoon light is gold through the windows. Lisa wraps both hands around her mug and looks at me the way May used to look at me when she knew I was holding something back. May could always tell. Apparently she passed that gift to our daughter. "Tell me the truth, Dad." She keeps her voice low but steady. "Are they paying you? For the cooking? For running their entire kitchen 6 days a week? Are they paying you anything?" I take a sip of coffee. Too hot. It burns going down. No. Her jaw tightens. "Rent? How much?" $900 a month. For that room. She says it flat. Like a verdict. $900 a month for an attic, with no ventilation, and a lock on the outside of the door. And you cook. For free. Lisa. It is more complicated than that. It is not complicated. She sets her mug down hard enough that coffee splashes onto the table. My brother is exploiting you. His wife is exploiting you. They are making money off your skill and your grief, and they are charging you rent to do it. This is not family. This is labor trafficking. The words hit harder than I expect. Not because they are wrong. Because they are true. And because hearing them from my daughter makes them real in a way they were not when they lived only inside my own head. She reaches across the table and takes my hand, both of hers around one of mine. Her fingers are warm from the coffee. Dad, come live with us. David and I have the guest room. Sophia asks about you every day. You could cook with her. She wants to learn your dumplings. I close my eyes. See Sophia's face. 6 years old, curious about everything. The same wide eyes May had in every photo from her 20s. I want to say yes. I want to say yes so badly that my chest aches with it. But I cannot. Not yet. There is something I need to tell you, I say. Something I have not told anyone. Lisa goes still. Her hands tighten around mine. Okay. I take a breath. 2 months before your mother died, she made me promise something. We had been working on our recipes for years, perfecting them, documenting them, not just for the restaurant we used to have, but for something bigger. A legacy. Lisa nods slowly. I remember. You and Mom were always in the kitchen. Notebooks. Everywhere. May wanted those recipes to outlive us both. She wanted them to feed people we would never meet. So, before she passed, we contacted Pacific Harvest Corporation, the national chain. We offered them exclusive licensing rights to 12 of our signature recipes. Lisa's eyes widen. They made us an offer. I continue. $2.8 million up front, plus $750,000 in annual royalties for 12 years based on usage volume across their locations. Lisa's mouth opens, closes, opens again. 2.8 million. Her voice is barely a whisper, plus the royalties. 3 payments have come in since the contract was signed. That is another 2.2 million in the account. The total, as of last month's statement, is just over $5 million. My daughter stares at me. The coffee shop noise falls away. The laptop keyboards, the espresso machine, the conversations at other tables. All of it disappears into the space between us. $5 million. And you are living in an attic, cooking for free, paying rent to your own son. She is not angry yet. She is past anger. She is somewhere beyond it. In that cold, clear place where May used to go when something was so wrong it required surgery instead of medicine. Why, Dad? Why are you letting this happen? I look down at our hands, still clasped together on the table. At my knuckles, scarred from decades of hot pans and sharp knives. At her fingers, elegant like her mother's, gripping mine, like I might disappear. Because I needed to know, I say quietly. After your mother died, after I sold the house and moved in with Brandon, after the money from Pacific Harvest started coming in, I needed to know something. I needed to know if my son loves me, or if he just loves what I can do for him. Lisa's eyes fill with tears. She does not let them fall. Oh, Dad, your mother and I built those recipes together. 41 years of love in every dish, every adjustment, every failed batch. Every late night in the kitchen arguing about whether the broth needed more ginger or less. Those recipes are us. They are the best of what we made together. And I needed to know if Brandon sees me as his father or just as a free cook with a good knife. She squeezes my hand so hard her knuckles go white. And what is the answer? I meet her eyes. I am starting to think it is not the answer I hoped for. We sit there for a long time. The coffee goes cold. The afternoon light shifts from gold to amber. Lisa does not push me to leave. She does not argue or demand. She just holds my hand and lets me be a father who is losing his son in slow motion. When we finally stand to leave, she pulls me into a hug. Long and tight, the way she used to hug me when she was small and the world felt too big. Promise me. She whispers into my shoulder. Promise me you will not let them hurt you. I will be careful. Careful is not enough. She pulls back, looks at me with May's eyes. Promise me that if anything changes, if it gets worse, you will call me. day or night. I promise. That conversation was on a Tuesday. By Thursday, everything I feared would happen, everything I had been testing for, started happening. And it started with a sound so small, I almost missed it. The whisper of paper being pulled from leather, the faintest creak of a floorboard, and a strand of black hair, placed between pages like a bookmark, that had shifted exactly 2 centimeters to the left. May taught me the hair trick 30 years ago. We were living in the apartment above our noodle house in Decatur, and someone had been stealing from the register. Small amounts. 20 here, 40 there. Not enough to notice on any single day, but enough to matter over a month. May did not accuse anyone. She did not install cameras or check the footage from the security system we could not afford. She placed a single strand of her hair across the cash drawer each night before we locked up. Black against the green felt lining. Invisible unless you knew to look. 3 days later, the hair had moved. She knew who worked that shift. Problem solved. No confrontation needed. Just knowledge. I adopted the habit for my own reasons. A strand of May's hair, saved from her brush after she passed, placed between the pages of important documents, between the folds of my wallet, across the seal of envelopes I did not want opened, a ghost's fingerprint. My wife, still protecting me from wherever she had gone. Thursday night, 11:40. I come up from the kitchen after closing, my bones heavy with 16 hours of work. The attic is dark. Everything looks the same. The cot made with military precision, the plastic dresser with its 3 drawers, my reading glasses on the small shelf beside the bed. But the hair is wrong. I keep one between the 2nd and 3rd page of my wallet, right where the quarterly statement from Pacific Harvest sits folded behind my insurance card. The hair should cross the fold at a 45-degree angle, touching the left edge of the crease. It is not there. It has shifted, moved to the right, pressed flat instead of curved. Someone opened my wallet, unfolded that statement, read it, and put everything back. Almost perfectly. But almost is not perfect, and May's hair does not lie. My heart rate climbs, but my hands stay still. I sit on the cot. Close my eyes. Think. Who was here while I was in the kitchen? Brandon left at 6. He had a dinner meeting with a potential investor. That leaves Nicole. She was upstairs handling inventory, she said. In and out of the storage rooms all evening. The storage room that used to be mine. The one directly below this attic. The one with the stairs that lead right up to where I sleep. I open the wallet. The statement is there. $217,412, deposited on January 15th. Quarterly royalty payment. Pacific Harvest Corporation. The numbers are printed in that small, precise font that banks use. Numbers that add up to a life my son does not know I have. Except now someone does know. Someone who was careful enough to put the statement back, but not careful enough to notice a dead woman's hair. I do not sleep that night. I lie on the cot and listen to the house settle around me. The building is old. It speaks in creaks and groans that I have learned to translate over 2 years. The floor joists expanding after a hot day. The pipes clicking as they cool. The refrigeration units below humming their constant mechanical lullaby. At 2:13 in the morning I hear footsteps. Light, careful, deliberate. Someone moving through the hallway below, toward Brandon and Nicole's bedroom. The master bedroom door opens and closes. Then voices, too low to make out words. But the tone is unmistakable. Urgent. Excited. The way people sound when they have discovered something they were not supposed to find and cannot wait to share it. Friday passes in a haze of wok smoke and muscle memory. I cook on autopilot while my mind runs calculations. They know about the money. Or at least Nicole knows. The question is what they will do with that knowledge. The answer comes Saturday morning. I am making congee for myself in the kitchen before the restaurant opens. Plain rice porridge, the breakfast of my childhood, the comfort food May used to make when one of us was sick or sad. The kitchen is quiet. The prep list waits untouched on the wall. I have 30 minutes of peace. Nicole appears in the doorway. She is dressed in weekend clothes, hair down, face soft in a way I have never seen directed at me. She is carrying 2 mugs of coffee. "Good morning, Dad." Her voice is warm, honeyed. The word dad rolls off her tongue like she has been practicing it. "I made you coffee. That dark roast you like." I look at the mug she sets before me. In 2 years, she has never once made me coffee. She has complained about me using the coffee machine. She has told me which beans are too expensive for daily use. She has made it clear that the good coffee is reserved for guests and special occasions. And now she stands here with a mug in each hand and a smile so bright it hurts to look at. "Thank you," I say carefully. I wrap my hands around the mug. "But do not drink." "I was thinking," she continues, settling into the chair across from me like we do this every morning. Like we are family who share breakfast and conversation and warmth. "We should talk about your situation. You have been working so hard. And Brandon and I feel terrible that we have not done more to make you comfortable." Comfortable. The word lands between us like a counterfeit coin, shiny on the surface. We were thinking about renovating the attic, putting in a real window, maybe some insulation, a proper bathroom. She is watching me over the rim of her mug, those calculating eyes dressed in soft concern. "You deserve better than what you have up there." "That is kind of you," I say. My voice gives nothing away. 45 years in professional kitchens taught me to keep my face neutral when the health inspector asks questions. "And maybe we should talk about reducing your kitchen hours. You are 69. You should be relaxing, enjoying life. Let us hire someone to take over some of the workload." She reaches across and touches my hand. Briefly. Like a test. "You have done so much for us, Dad. We want to give back." I look at her hand on mine. At her manicured nails, the rings on her fingers, the bracelet Brandon gave her for their anniversary last year. I think about the statement in my wallet, the numbers printed there, the hair that moved 2 centimeters, and I understand everything. This is not kindness. This is not guilt. This is not a daughter-in-law who has suddenly discovered her conscience after 2 years of treating me like a kitchen appliance. This is a woman who has just learned that the old man living in her attic is worth $5 million, and she is making her opening move. The congee on the stove bubbles softly. I stir it once, add a pinch of white pepper the way May liked it, and I smile at Nicole, the way you smile at someone whose hand you have already read. When someone who has treated you like furniture suddenly treats you like family, it is not love, it is not kindness, it is not remorse. It is arithmetic, pure and simple and cold, as the numbers on a bank statement. And now the only question is what comes next. 2 weeks of honey. That is how long it lasts. 14 days of Nicole making me coffee every morning. Of Brandon asking how I slept. Of both of them using the word dad like it means something. Like it has not been gathering dust in the back of their mouths for 2 years. 14 days of small kindnesses that taste like bait. They think I do not notice the pattern. The way Nicole leaves financial documents on the kitchen counter where I might see them. Mortgage statements. Credit card bills. A printout from a business loan website with interest rates circled in red. They are building a narrative. Poor us. Drowning in debt. If only someone could help. But I notice everything. A chef reads a kitchen the way a detective reads a crime scene. What has been moved? What is missing? What has been placed deliberately where it does not belong? And my son's kitchen is telling me a story that makes my stomach turn. It is a Tuesday night, 2 weeks after the hair moved. I am in the attic, lying on my cot, trying to sleep through the ache in my lower back. The building is quiet. The restaurant closed 3 hours ago. Brandon and Nicole should be asleep, but they are not. The vent. There is an air vent in the floor of my attic, directly above the living room. It is meant for heating, a square metal grate that lets warm air rise from the lower floors. But heat is not the only thing that rises through it. Sound travels too. Not perfectly. Not every word. But enough. Nicole's voice comes first. Thin and metallic through the ductwork. But clear enough. We cannot wait anymore. The window is closing. If he moves out, if that daughter of his convinces him to leave, we lose access completely. Brandon's response is lower, harder to hear. I press my ear closer to the grate. The metal is cold against my skin. I know. But we cannot just ask him for it. He will say no. Or worse, he will tell Lisa. Then we do not ask. Nicole's voice has an edge now. Something harder beneath the honey she has been using for 2 weeks. His signature is not that complex, Brandon. I have watched him sign receipts for 2 years. The B is distinctive, but the rest is just a connected scrawl. You could learn it in a month. The air leaves my lungs. I lie perfectly still against the cold metal grate and listen to my son's wife teach him how to steal from me. A month is too long, Brandon says. What if he finds out we know? Then we move faster. 2 weeks. Practice every night after he goes to sleep. I will get copies of his bank information from the statements in his wallet. We already have his account numbers from the rent deposits. We know which bank. We know the routing numbers. All we need is a convincing signature. Silence. A long one. I count my heartbeats in the dark. 14. 15. 16. Then my son speaks. And his voice is the voice of a stranger. Okay. Show me what his signature looks like. I do not move for a long time after their voices fade. I lie there with my ear against the grate, and my eyes open in the dark, and I feel something inside my chest collapse. Not break. Breaking is sudden. This is slower. This is the sound a building makes before it falls. The groan of load-bearing walls giving way to pressure they were never designed to hold. My son is going to forge my signature. My son is going to steal from me. Not because he is desperate. Not because he is starving or homeless or afraid. Because his wife pointed at a number and said, "Take it." And he said, "Okay." I think about calling Lisa right now. Think about walking downstairs and confronting them. Think about walking out the front door and never coming back. But I do not do any of those things, because anger without evidence is just noise. And I am an engineer of food. I build things with precision. I measure. I document. I create results that can be replicated and verified. If I am going to protect myself, I need proof. Wednesday. I wait until both of them leave for an afternoon meeting with their accountant. The house is empty. I go downstairs to the kitchen, past the living room where May's portrait hangs above the fireplace. Her face watches me from the canvas, young and smiling, painted from a photograph taken on our 25th anniversary. She wears the red dress she loved. Her eyes are bright with a joy I can almost still feel. I will come back to that painting. Remember it. I move to the small office Brandon keeps behind the kitchen. His desk is cluttered. Invoices, supplier catalogs, a laptop with the screen dark. The trash can beside the desk is half full. I pull the plastic bag out and carry it to the kitchen table. Napkins. Receipts. Junk mail. And then 3 sheets of yellow legal paper, crumpled into loose balls. I smooth them flat on the counter, with the same care I use to roll dumpling dough. What I see makes my hands shake for the first time in decades. My name, written over and over and over. Walter Chen. Walter Chen. Walter Chen. 23 attempts on the first page. 19 on the second. 15 on the third. Each one slightly different. Each one slightly closer to mine. The early attempts are shaky, uncertain. The later ones are better. More fluid. More confident. By the bottom of the third page, they are close. Not perfect, but close enough to fool someone who is not looking carefully. 57 practice signatures. My son has been practicing for less than a week, and he is already getting close. He inherited May's steady hands, the ones that could pipe frosting in perfect lines and fold dumplings with pleats so even they looked machine-made. Those hands are now being used to learn how to forge his father's name on a check. I photograph each page with my phone, front and back. Close-ups of the signatures that are nearest to mine, time-stamped, dated. Then I crumple the pages again, exactly as they were, and put them back in the trash. He will not notice. People never check their own garbage. I climb back to the attic, sit on my cot. My hands have stopped shaking, but my mind has not. I think about May, about what she would say, about what she would do, and I know, with the same certainty, I know that too much salt ruins a broth, that watching is no longer enough. I need to see everything. I need to record it. I need a witness that never blinks. At 11:47 that night, I call Lisa. She picks up on the second ring. Her voice is alert, worried. "Dad, what is wrong?" I keep my voice low, steady. "The way you speak when the kitchen is on fire and the customers cannot know. I need a camera," I say. "Small enough to hide inside your mother's painting." The silence on the other end lasts exactly 4 seconds. Then my daughter, my fierce and brilliant daughter, says one word. "Done." My wife's portrait has hung in their living room for 2 years. They walk past it every day without seeing it. They think it is decoration. A dead woman's face on a wall, harmless and forgettable. It is about to become a witness. Lisa arrives Thursday afternoon during the gap between lunch and dinner service. She comes through the back door, carrying a paper bag from a kitchen supply store. Camouflage. Inside, beneath a packet of cheesecloth and a bottle of sesame oil, there is a small black box no bigger than a domino. She sets it on the prep table and opens it. The camera is matte black, rectangular, with a lens the size of a peppercorn. No blinking light. No visible indicator that it is recording. Battery life, 72 hours between charges. Wireless connection to an app on her phone. Night vision capable. Audio range of 20 feet. This was not cheap, I say. She looks at me with May's eyes. Neither was what they are doing to you. We wait until 5:45. Brandon has left for a meeting with a wine distributor. Nicole is at her gym class, the one she attends every Thursday from 5 to 6:30. We have 45 minutes. It will be enough. The portrait of May hangs above the fireplace in the living room. Oil on canvas, 24 by 30 inches, in a carved wooden frame that I built myself 15 years ago. The painting was a gift for our 35th anniversary. I hired an artist in Decatur who worked from photographs. She captured May perfectly. The slight tilt of her head, the warmth in her eyes, the red dress she wore to our daughter's college graduation. For 2 years, this painting has watched my son and his wife eat dinner beneath it, has watched them argue about money and plan vacations, and ignore the old man cooking in their kitchen, has watched them walk past without ever stopping to really look at the woman in the frame. She is invisible to them. Just another object in a house full of objects. Lisa stands on a chair and carefully removes the painting from its hook. I hold it while she works. Her hands are steady, precise. She inherited that from both of us. The back of the frame has a thin wooden panel held in place by small brass tacks. She removes 4 of them with a flathead screwdriver, creates a gap just wide enough, and slides the camera into position behind the canvas. The lens aligns with a small imperfection in the painting. A dark spot near May's left earring that looks like a shadow, but is actually a pinhole Lisa drilled with a needle 2 nights ago. From the front, it is invisible unless you press your face within inches of the canvas. From behind, it gives the camera a clear view of the entire living room, including the kitchen table where Brandon practices his signatures every night. We rehang the painting, step back, look at it from every angle. Nothing has changed. May still smiles from the canvas. Her eyes still hold that quiet warmth. But now she is watching in a way she was not before. Even in death, I say quietly. She is still protecting me. Lisa squeezes my arm. She opens the app on her phone, checks the feed. The image is crisp, wide angle, covering the full room. The kitchen table is dead center. I was Mom's idea, Lisa says softly. In a way, I dreamed about her 2 nights ago. She was standing in front of this painting, pointing at it, saying, "Look closer." I do not know if I believe in messages from the dead, but I believe in May. And I believe that if she could reach us from wherever she is gone, she would reach us through the kitchen, through the food, through the work we built together. The next morning, Friday, I meet Marcus Hall for the first time. Lisa drives me to his office in Midtown, a 3rd-floor suite, in a brick building with tall windows and a view of Piedmont Park. Marcus is 58, tall, broad-shouldered, with silver at his temples and the kind of calm that comes from 3 decades of courtroom work. He specializes in elder law, exploitation cases, guardianship disputes, the quiet crimes that happen inside families when money enters the equation. He listens without interrupting. 15 minutes of my story, from the attic to the vent to the trash can signatures to the camera behind May's portrait. When I finish, he sits back and laces his fingers together. "You have been thorough," he says. His voice is deep, measured. "Most clients come to me after the money is already gone. You are ahead of the curve. What do I do now?" I ask. "You wait." He holds up a hand before I can protest. "I know that sounds wrong. But right now you have photographs of practice signatures and a recording device in place. What you do not have is evidence of an actual crime. Practicing someone's signature is suspicious, but not illegal. We need them to act. To actually forge a document. To attempt a transaction. And if they do, then we have them. Georgia is a one-party consent state. You are the party. Everything that camera records in a room where you are present, or where your property is being discussed, is admissible." He leans forward. "But there are things we need to do right now to protect you." He lists them with the efficiency of a man who has done this many times before. "First, a fraud alert on every financial account I have. Any transaction over $5,000 requires written verification from Marcus or Lisa. Second, forward my mail to his office starting Monday. They cannot intercept statements they never see. Third, alert Pacific Harvest Legal Department that unauthorized individuals may attempt to contact them regarding my account. Fourth, prepare an affidavit establishing my mental competency, signed by my personal physician, in case they try the guardianship route." "You think they will try to have me declared incompetent?" I say. "If the forgery fails, it is the next logical step." Marcus does not sugarcoat. "In my experience, once someone has decided to take an elderly person's money, they do not stop at one method. They escalate until something works, or until they are caught." We spend another hour building the framework. Legal documents, emergency contacts, a timeline of everything that has happened since Nicole found the statement. By the time Lisa drives me back to the restaurant, it is nearly 4. The dinner prep is waiting. My son is waiting. His wife is waiting. And none of them know that the walls have grown eyes. That night, I lie in my cot and open the app Lisa installed on my phone. The camera feed glows in the darkness of the attic. I can see the living room below, in gray-green night vision, the kitchen table, empty. The fireplace, cold, May's portrait above it, watching. At 11:22, the light flicks on. Brandon appears in the frame. He is wearing sweatpants and a t-shirt. He carries a yellow legal pad and a pen. He sits at the kitchen table, directly beneath his mother's portrait, and opens the pad to a fresh page. He uncaps the pen, and he begins. Walter Shen. Walter Shen. Walter Shen. My son's hand moves across the page, again and again, trying to become me. trying to learn the shape of my name so he can put it on a check I never wrote. And above him, from behind the canvas, my wife watches, records, remembers. I close the app, set the phone on my chest, and in the darkness, I whisper to the ceiling, "I see you, May. Thank you." Over the next 3 weeks, that camera would capture 22 sessions, 47 practice signatures, 3 phone calls to the bank, and 1 conversation that would send my son to prison. I moved through the kitchen and out the back door before my mind had time to tell my legs what to do. The backyard was small, a square of wet grass, a rusted swing set Nora had outgrown, and at the far end, against the wooden fence, a shed. It was nothing special from the outside. Maybe 8 feet by 10. Weathered gray planks, a sloped roof, a single window covered by a piece of plywood from the inside. The kind of structure people used for storing lawnmowers and Christmas decorations, but the crying was coming from inside it. I crossed the yard in 4 strides. The grass was slick under my boots. When I reached the shed door, I stopped, pressed my hand flat against the wood. It was cold, damp from the rain. I could hear the crying more clearly now. Not loud, not the wailing of a child throwing a tantrum. This was something quieter, something more exhausted, the sound of someone who had been crying for so long they barely had the energy to keep going but could not figure out how to stop. "Nora?" I kept my voice as steady as I could. "Sweetheart, it is Grandpa. It is Walt. Can you hear me?" The crying stopped. Silence. Then a sound that nearly buckled my knees. A small, hoarse voice behind the door. "Grandpa, I am right here, honey. Can you open the door?" A pause. Then, the scraping of something metal. A latch, sliding slowly, the way small hands move when they are shaking too hard to grip properly. The door cracked open an inch. Then 2. Then enough for the gray morning light to fall inside. What I saw stopped me cold. Claire had transformed this shed. This was not a storage unit anymore. This was a survival station. Along the back wall, neatly arranged on a low shelf, sat 6 bottles of water, 4 granola bars still in their wrappers, a box of animal crackers, and a sleeve of peanut butter crackers. Beside them, a flashlight, a pack of batteries, a small first aid kit, and 2 coloring books with a box of crayons. A sleeping bag was spread across the concrete floor. A pillow from Nora's bed. 2 children's books stacked in the corner. And on a hook by the door hung my old fire helmet. The one from Station 14. The one I had retired with and given to Nora because she said it made her feel safe. Except the helmet was not on the hook. It was on the floor, cradled in the arms of my granddaughter. Nora was curled in the far corner of the sleeping bag, knees drawn to her chest. My helmet clutched against her like a shield. Her lips were cracked and bleeding. Her skin had a grayish pallor I had seen too many times on victims pulled from collapsed buildings. Her hair was matted. Her eyes, when they found mine, were glassy and unfocused, like someone looking at the world through water. She was 7 years old. She weighed maybe 50 pounds on a good day. Right now, she looked like she weighed less than the helmet she was holding. I dropped to my knees and crawled into that shed. When I gathered her into my arms, she felt like paper, like something the wind could take. Her skin burned against mine, fever radiating through her thin pajama top. She smelled like sweat and dust and fear. When I pressed my hand to her forehead, the heat scared me more than any fire I had ever faced. "I got you, sweetheart." I pulled her against my chest and felt her fingers dig into my shirt. Weak, desperate. The grip of someone who had been holding on for so long their hands had forgotten how to let go. "I got you. You are safe now." She did not cry. She was past crying. She just pressed her face into my shoulder and breathed. Each breath was shallow and ragged, like her lungs had to work twice as hard for half the air. I pulled out my phone and dialed 911. My voice did not sound like my own. When the dispatcher answered, "I need an ambulance. 4712 Birchwood Lane. My granddaughter is 7 years old. Severe dehydration. High fever. She has been alone for days. Please, hurry." I gave them the rest of the information while holding Nora against my chest. Her heartbeat was fast and faint against my ribs, like a bird trapped in a box. The paramedics arrived in 11 minutes. It felt like 11 hours. Two of them, a man and a woman, both young, both moving with the kind of controlled urgency that told me they understood this was serious. They transferred Nora to a stretcher, hooked up an oxygen mask, started an IV line in the ambulance. The female paramedic looked at me as she adjusted the drip. "How long has she been alone?" "I do not know yet." "Days. Maybe longer." She did not say anything else. She did not need to. Her face said it all. The ride to Seattle Children's Hospital took 18 minutes. Nora drifted in and out of consciousness, her small hand gripping mine, like I was the last solid thing in her world. I did not let go. Not when they transferred her to the emergency room. Not when the doctors surrounded her with monitors and IV bags and called out numbers I did not understand. Not when a young nurse tried to gently pull me back to give them space. "I am not leaving her," I said. A doctor with gray hair and steady hands looked at me over the top of his glasses. "Stay against the wall. Do not get in the way." I pressed myself into the corner and watched them work. Blood pressure, temperature, blood draws, more fluids. The numbers on the monitors slowly improved. The tension in the room gradually eased. After 40 minutes, they moved Nora to a private room. The IV drip continued its rhythm. Monitors beeped softly. I pulled a chair to her bedside and sat down. My whole body ached. Not from the drive. Not from the hours on my feet. From holding myself together, when everything inside me was trying to come apart. 6 days. The doctors estimated she had been alone for 6 days based on her dehydration levels and the food remaining in the shed. My 7-year-old granddaughter had survived 6 days alone in a shed because her mother had turned it into a lifeboat. Nora stirred. Her eyes opened slowly. Clearer now. More focused. She looked at me, and I saw recognition. Real recognition. For the first time since I had found her. "Grandpa, you came." "Of course I came, sweetheart." Her gaze drifted to the fire helmet. They had let her keep it. It sat on the bedside table, scuffed and dented, the old Station 14 decal peeling at the edges. She looked at it, then back at me. "Mommy said you would come. She said firefighters never leave anyone behind." The camera timestamp reads Friday, 2:47 in the afternoon. I am not home. I am at Lisa's house. The first afternoon off I have taken in 3 months. Brandon thinks I am visiting my daughter for lunch. He does not know that Lisa and I are watching the live feed from her kitchen table, her laptop open between us, the camera's wireless signal streaming in real time across the city. Brandon sits at the kitchen table. He is wearing a button-down shirt, dark jeans, clean shoes, dressed for an errand, dressed to be seen. On the table in front of him is a checkbook. Not his checkbook. Mine. Or rather, a checkbook ordered in my name from a set of checks he requested online using my account number and routing information. The same information he copied from my rent deposits months ago. The checks were delivered to a post office box I did not know existed until Marcus's investigator traced the order last week. He opens the checkbook to the first page. Uncaps a pen. A nice pen. Heavy. The kind that gives you control over line weight. He has learned. He has studied. He has spent 47 sessions preparing for this moment. And now, with the confidence of a man who believes he is alone and unobserved, he writes, "Pay to the order of Brandon Chen. $500,000 and 0 cents. Then the signature line. He takes a breath. I can see his chest rise and fall on the screen. Lisa's hand finds mine under the table. We watch together. He puts pen to paper, and he signs my name, Walterchen. It takes him 4 seconds. No hesitation, no pause, no tremor in his hand. The signature flows across the line like he has done it 1,000 times, which, in a way, he has. 47 practice sessions, hundreds of attempts, all leading to this. 4 seconds of ink on paper that carries a 10-year prison sentence in the state of Georgia. He holds the check up to the light, examines it, nods once, satisfied. Then he tears it carefully from the book, folds it into his wallet, puts on his jacket, and walks out the front door. The camera captures the door closing behind him. Then the room is empty. May's portrait watches over the silence. Lisa closes the laptop. Her face is white. He actually did it. I nod. My throat is tight. Something I did not expect. I knew this was coming. I planned for it. I watched him build toward it night after night for 3 weeks. And still, seeing him do it, seeing my son forge my name on a check for $500,000, it hits different than I thought it would. This is not a practice sheet in a trash can. This is not a conversation overheard through a vent. This is my child. The boy I taught to write his own name on a chalkboard in our kitchen when he was 4 years old, using that same hand to steal from me, using skills I gave him. Steadiness I passed down. My genes, my blood, my teaching, all of it bent toward taking what is mine. Lisa is already on the phone. Marcus. He did it. Just now. On camera. He is heading to cash it. We think the Decatur check cashing place. The one he called 3 times. Marcus's voice comes through the speaker, calm and level. The fraud alert is active. The bank will flag it the moment the check cashing service contacts them for verification. They cannot process $500,000 without a bank confirmation. It will be denied. And if it is not? Lisa's voice is sharp. It will be. But even if something goes wrong, the money is protected. The vulnerable adult alert I placed requires my written authorization for any withdrawal over $5,000. He cannot get to the funds. But we want him to try. We want the attempt on record. Lisa hangs up. We sit in her kitchen and wait. The clock on the wall ticks. I drink coffee that has gone cold. Lisa paces. 20 minutes pass. Then, 30. At 3:32, my phone rings. A local number I do not recognize. Mr. Chen? A woman's voice. Professional. Calm. This is Sandra Okafor at Peachtree National Bank. I am calling regarding an attempted transaction on your account. Yes. Sir, a check cashing service in Decatur has contacted us to verify a check drawn on your account in the amount of $500,000. The check is made out to a Brandon Chen. Can you confirm whether you authorized this transaction? I close my eyes. Breathe in through my nose. The way you breathe when the oil in a wok flashes, and you need to stay calm instead of pulling back. No, I did not authorize it. That check is fraudulent. A pause. The sound of typing. Sir, I need to confirm. You are stating that this check was not written by you, that the signature is not yours. The signature is forged. I did not write that check. I did not authorize anyone to write it on my behalf. This is fraud. More typing. Understood. Mr. Chen, we are denying the transaction immediately and flagging the account. I am also noting that this triggers the Vulnerable Adult Protection Protocol that was placed by your attorney, Marcus Hall. We will be issuing a formal report. Would you like us to contact law enforcement? Yes. Please. I will transfer you to our fraud investigation department. Please hold. Hold music. Something classical, soft and meaningless. I stare at the wall of Lisa's kitchen, at the photograph of Sophia on the refrigerator, gap-toothed and grinning, at the grocery list in Lisa's handwriting, at the world continuing to be normal, while mine falls apart. Lisa sits beside me. Takes my hand again. Says nothing. There is nothing to say. 40 minutes later, Marcus calls. His voice is different now. Not the careful lawyer voice. Something warmer. Closer to human. Robert. It is done. The check was denied. The check cashing service has security footage of Brandon presenting it. That footage, plus your camera footage, plus the bank's fraud report, gives us a complete chain of evidence. Forgery. Attempted fraud. Financial exploitation of a vulnerable adult. He pauses. We have everything we need to send him to prison. The words land in my chest like stones dropped into still water. Ripples spreading outward, touching everything. But Marcus continues. And his voice has changed again. Something lighter. Almost conspiratorial. But I have been thinking. Filing charges right now. Today. That is the obvious move. It is clean. It is immediate. And it will absolutely work. But what? But what if there was a way to make sure he never forgets this lesson? A way that does not just punish him but exposes him. Publicly. Completely. In front of every person he has ever tried to impress. I listen. And for the first time in weeks, something loosens in my chest. Not joy. Not satisfaction. Something more like purpose. Like the feeling I used to get when a new recipe finally came together after months of failure. How would you like to make sure he never forgets? Marcus asks. I am listening, I say. And for the first time in months, I smile. Marcus Hall's office smells like leather and old paper. The bookshelves behind his desk hold 30 years of case law, spines cracked from use, pages marked with colored tabs. He sits across from Lisa and me with a manila folder open between us. Inside, a timeline, photographs, bank records, and a plan. Your son is not as clever as he thinks, Marcus begins. He slides a printout across the desk. After the $500,000 check was denied, a rational person would have stopped, retreated, reconsidered. But your son did not stop. He changed tactics. The printout shows a series of wire transfers. Smaller amounts. $48,000, $62,000, $55,000, $73,000, all initiated over the past 10 days from a secondary account that Brandon apparently set up using information from my rent deposit records, each one just below the threshold that would trigger the major transaction alert Marcus had placed. He found a loophole, Lisa says. Her voice is tight, a temporary one. Marcus nods. The fraud alert catches transactions over $5,000 on the primary account. But your father's royalty payments from Pacific Harvest are deposited into a separate investment account that the alert did not initially cover. We have since corrected that. But before we did, he managed to move approximately $238,000 into a business account registered under his restaurant's LLC. I stare at the number. $238,000. Gone in 10 days. Through a series of small cuts, I did not even feel. The good news, Marcus continues, is that we can trace every dollar. The bad news is that he has already spent most of it. He slides another document across the desk. A commercial lease agreement. A new restaurant location in Buckhead. Signed 3 days ago. Deposit paid. Construction begins next week. He is opening a second restaurant. I say it slowly. With my money. With $238,000 of your money. Yes. Marcus leans back. Now, the straightforward approach would be to file charges immediately. We have more than enough evidence. The forged check. The wire transfers. The camera footage. He would be arrested within 48 hours. But, he pauses. Looks at me directly. But that approach does not recover the money he has already spent on the lease and construction deposits. Landlords do not return commercial deposits easily. It would be tied up in civil litigation for months. And more importantly, More importantly what? Lisa asks. More importantly, it does not teach him the lesson you want taught. Marcus folds his hands. Robert, you have told me that this was always a test. You wanted to know if your son loved you, or your money. You have your answer. The question now is what you do with it. Do you want justice? Or do you want impact? I think about that for a long time. The office is quiet except for the distant hum of traffic on Peachtree Street below. Lisa waits. Marcus waits. They are patient people. Lawyers and daughters of chefs both know the value of letting a thing simmer until it is ready. What are you proposing? I finally ask. Marcus opens a second folder. Inside is a glossy invitation. Heavy cardstock. Gold embossed lettering. Grand opening. Chen's Golden Walk. Buckhead. Saturday, November 16th. Please join Brandon and Nicole Chen for an evening of celebration. Cocktails at 7. Dinner at 8. Your son is throwing a party, Marcus says, to celebrate a restaurant he built with stolen money. He has invited investors, business partners, friends, local food critics, 80 people, maybe more. I look at the invitation. At my son's name in gold letters. At his wife's name beside it. At the address, a location I have never seen, paid for with royalties from recipes May and I created together. And I notice what is not there. My name, nowhere on this invitation. Not as a partner, not as a chef, not even as a guest. He did not invite you, Lisa says quietly. She has noticed too. No, he did not. Marcus spreads a diagram across the desk. A floor plan of the new restaurant. He has marked it with red circles and blue arrows. Here is what I propose. We let the grand opening happen. We let him stand in front of 80 people and take credit for everything. We let him toast his success and shake hands and smile for photographs. And then, he taps a red circle on the diagram. The main dining room. A large screen television mounted on the wall for ambiance. Currently programmed to show food photography and promotional videos. We switch the feed, Marcus says. From his promotional video to your camera footage. 4 minutes of his 47 practice sessions. 3 weeks of forgery training. His wife coaching him on your signature. The phone calls to the check cashing service. All of it played on a 6-foot screen in front of every person he has ever tried to impress. Lisa inhales sharply. Oh my God. Simultaneously, Marcus continues. 2 plainclothes detectives from the Atlanta PD Financial Crimes Unit will be present. Positioned at the exits. Once the footage plays and the room understands what they are seeing, the officers will make the arrest. In public, on the night of his greatest triumph. Using his own celebration as the stage for his downfall, I sit with this. Let it settle. The chef in me recognizes the architecture of it. The timing. The precision. The way each element builds on the last, like courses in a tasting menu. Appetizer of success. Main course of exposure. Dessert of consequences. Is this legal? I ask. Every element. Marcus nods. The footage is admissible. The arrest warrant will be issued based on evidence already submitted. The timing is simply a choice. We choose when to execute the warrant. We choose to execute it in a public setting where the evidence can be displayed as part of the arrest process. The officers will handle it cleanly, professionally, but publicly. And the money? Lisa asks. The $238,000? Once he is charged, the court can freeze his business accounts. The lease deposit becomes evidence of money laundering, using stolen funds to finance a business. Between restitution orders and asset seizure, most of it should be recoverable. It will take time, but it will come back. I look at the invitation again. Gold letters on heavy paper. A party I was not invited to. Celebrating a success built on my stolen recipes and my stolen money. A restaurant that carries my family name but erased me from its story. Marcus watches me. waiting for the decision that only I can make. Lisa is quiet beside me, her hand resting on my arm. Not pushing, not pulling. Just present. 2 weeks, I say. The grand opening is in 2 weeks. Marcus nods. 2 weeks. We prepare. We coordinate with the detective unit. We ensure the footage is formatted for display. We confirm the arrest warrant. And on November 16th, at approximately 8:15 in the evening, your son's empire comes down. I stand. Look out the window. At the Atlanta skyline. Somewhere out there, my son is measuring a new kitchen, choosing paint colors, ordering furniture, planning a menu of recipes he did not create, funded by money he did not earn, for a future built on a crime he thinks no one saw. The grand opening was in 2 weeks. Everything was ready. The footage, the police, the lawyer, the plan, and one heartbroken father who had run out of reasons to give his son another chance. Friday night, November 15th. Tomorrow is the grand opening. Tomorrow, everything changes. Tonight, I lie in this attic for the last time, and I let myself remember. The cot creaks beneath me the way it has for 783 nights. I have counted, not deliberately, but the way you count heartbeats when you cannot sleep. Each night, a tally mark scratched into the wall of my memory. Each morning, a fresh line on a sentence I did not know I was serving. The restaurant below is closed. Brandon and Nicole left early tonight, giddy with anticipation. I heard them through the floor, laughing, making plans, discussing the seating chart for tomorrow. 83 confirmed guests. A jazz trio, a champagne tower. All of it funded by the recipes in my head and the money in my account. They practically floated out the door. They did not say goodnight to me. They never do. The attic is cold. November in Atlanta is not bitter the way northern winters are, but it seeps through the thin walls, through the painted shut window, through the uninsulated ceiling that separates me from the sky by nothing more than plywood and tar paper. I pull the thin blanket up to my chin and close my eyes. I see May, not as she was at the end, thin and gray and dissolving into the hospital sheets, but May, at 32. The year we opened the noodle house, her hair tied back with a red cloth, flour on her cheek, laughing at something I said while she rolled dumpling dough on the kitchen table. The radio was playing something in Cantonese. The afternoon sun came through the window and caught the flour dust in the air like snow falling sideways. That was the year Brandon was born. We brought him home from the hospital and laid him in a bassinet beside the prep table because we could not afford to close the restaurant and could not afford a babysitter either. He slept through lunch rushes and woke to the sound of wok flames and his mother singing. His first word was hot. Not mama, not dada. Hot. Because we said it 1,000 times a day in that kitchen. Hot behind. Hot pan. Hot oil. He was ours. Built from flour dust and sesame oil and the steam that rose from 100,000 bowls of noodles. A kitchen child. A chef's son. I remember teaching him to hold a knife. He was 10. May said it was too young. I said I was 8 when my father taught me. We compromised. A butter knife first, practicing the rocking motion on soft bananas. Then a paring knife at 12. A proper chef's knife at 14. By 16, he could julienne carrots, almost as fast as I could. Almost, but he never loved it. Not the way May and I did. He loved the result, the praise, the way people's faces changed when they tasted something extraordinary. He loved being the son of a great cook. He did not love the cooking itself. The repetition, the discipline, the years of failure before mastery. May saw it first. She told me one night in bed, whispering so the children would not hear. Brandon wants the fruit without the tree. He wants the meal without the kitchen. He will charm his way through life, and it will work until it does not. She was right. She was always right about the children, about people, about the way hunger works, not just in the stomach, but in the soul. Some hungers are fed by effort. Others can only be fed by taking. I roll onto my side. The cot frame digs into my hip. I reach for my phone and open the Notes app. I have been writing something all week. A letter. Not to send. Not yet. Maybe not ever. But I need to say it. Even if only to a screen in the dark. Brandon, I have been lying in this room for 2 years trying to understand how we got here. How the boy who slept in a bassinet beside my prep table became a man who would steal from me. How the hands I taught to hold a knife became hands that practiced forging my name. I do not blame your wife entirely. She is a catalyst, not a cause. The weakness was already in you. The hunger for easy things. The belief that you deserve without earning. I saw it when you were young, and I thought you would outgrow it. I was wrong. Tomorrow, I am going to do something that will hurt you. It will hurt me too. I want you to know that I take no joy in it. A father does not celebrate his son's destruction, but a father also cannot watch his son become a thief and say nothing. Your mother used to say that a chef who does not taste his own cooking will poison everyone at the table. You stopped tasting a long time ago, Brandon. You stopped caring whether what you served was good or honest or true. You only cared that people swallowed it. Tomorrow, they will stop swallowing. And maybe, when the world stops applauding, you will finally hear the silence clearly enough to ask yourself who you want to become next. I love you. I have always loved you. Even now. Especially now. That is why this has to happen. Your father. I close the phone. Set it on my chest. The screen goes dark, and the attic returns to its familiar shadows. The water stains on the ceiling. The exposed pipes. The smell of old grease and colder nights. I think about what tomorrow will look like. The restaurant gleaming. The guests arriving. Brandon in his best suit, shaking hands. Telling stories about family recipes and 4 generations and the dream his parents gave him. And then the screen flickering. The footage playing. His face changing. I do not want to enjoy it. And I am afraid that some part of me will. The part that has eaten expired food and slept on a cot and washed my clothes in a utility sink for 783 nights. That part wants satisfaction, wants to see the moment he understands that the man he treated like furniture was watching the entire time. But the rest of me, the father, the man who carried him from the hospital wrapped in a yellow blanket that May had knitted during her 3rd trimester. That man wants to weep. I reach beneath my pillow. Pull out the photograph I keep there, creased and faded from being held too many times. The 4 of us at Lisa's high school graduation. May in her blue dress. Me in my only good suit. Lisa in cap and gown. Brandon, 15, skinny and grinning, his arm thrown around his mother's shoulders like the world was simple and always would be. Where did you go? I whisper to the boy in the photograph. Where did I lose you? The photograph does not answer. The attic does not answer. Only the building groans. Its old groans and the pipes click their cold clicks, and somewhere below the refrigerators hum their endless mechanical song. I set my alarm for 5 in the morning. Place the phone face down on the plastic dresser. Pull the blanket tight. Close my eyes. Tomorrow, my son opens his restaurant. And tomorrow, his father closes it. I do not sleep, but I rest. And in the space between waking and whatever comes next, I feel May beside me. Not her body, not her warmth, but her certainty. Her iron spine wrapped in velvet. Her voice whispering what she always whispered before something difficult. We do hard things, Walter. That is how we know we are alive. The restaurant is beautiful. I will give him that. Whatever else my son has become, he has an eye for space. The Buckhead location glows like a lantern against the November dark. Floor-to-ceiling windows framed in black steel. Warm Edison bulbs strung across the ceiling like captured fireflies. polished concrete floors, reclaimed wood tables set with white linen and fresh orchids, a long bar along the left wall, bottles lit from beneath like amber jewels. It looks nothing like our noodle house in Decatur. Nothing like the cramped, steamy, beautiful place where May and I built a life one bowl at a time. This is sleek, modern, expensive, a restaurant designed to impress people who eat with their eyes before their mouths. I arrive at 7:22, late enough that the crowd is settled, early enough that the speeches have not started. Lisa drops me at the corner. I walk the last block alone. My only good suit, the charcoal one I wore to May's funeral, pressed and fitted. My shoes polished, my hair combed back. I look like what I am, an old man attending a party. No one notices me enter. The door is propped open, a hostess checking names against a list. I am not on it, but I smile and say I am family, and she waves me through without a second glance. Family. The word tastes like ash. The dining room is full. 83 people. I count later, but in the moment, it feels like 100. Men in dark suits, women in cocktail dresses, the clink of champagne flutes and the murmur of expensive conversation. A jazz trio plays something smooth and forgettable near the bar. Servers in black aprons circulate with trays of appetizers. Dumplings. My dumplings. The pleats folded exactly the way I taught Miguel, who I can see through the kitchen window, working the line with the intensity of a young man trying to prove himself. I find a corner near the back. A small table meant for two, unoccupied, partially hidden behind a decorative screen. I sit. A server brings me water, without asking. I am invisible here the same way I was invisible in their home. An old Asian man in a suit. Unremarkable. Unimportant. Lisa texts me. We are in position. Marcus is outside with the detectives. The USB drive is with the AV technician. He thinks it is a surprise video tribute for the owners. He will switch the feed on my signal. One word. Ready. I type back. Not yet. Let him have his moment first, because he deserves that. Not the restaurant, not the money, not the credit, but the moment itself. The last moment of his life, before everything breaks. I want him to feel it fully. The height before the fall. The breath before the water closes over your head. I need him to know exactly what he is losing. Brandon appears from the kitchen at 7:45. He has changed since I last saw him this morning. New suit, navy blue, perfectly tailored. A silk pocket square the color of burnished gold. His hair styled. His smile bright and wide and practiced. Nicole is beside him in a black dress that catches the light. Her hand rests on his arm with practiced intimacy. They look like a magazine cover, like success, personified. He moves through the crowd the way he has always moved through the world. Handshakes and backslaps and that warm laugh that makes people feel chosen. He introduces Nicole to investors, accepts compliments on the space, points out design features, the custom lighting, the hand-selected artwork, the open kitchen concept that lets guests watch their food being prepared. Their food, prepared with my recipes, by a line cook I trained, in a restaurant funded by my stolen money. At 8:15, someone taps a microphone. The jazz trio fades. The room quiets. Brandon stands at the front, near the bar, a microphone in one hand and a champagne flute in the other. Behind him, a 65-inch screen mounted on the wall currently displays a slow rotation of food photographs. My food, photographed beautifully, attributed to no one, everyone. Thank you so much for being here tonight. Brandon's voice is warm, confident. The voice of a man who believes he has earned every good thing that has ever happened to him. Nicole and I are so thrilled to welcome you to the newest chapter of Golden Walk. Applause. Champagne raised. Smiles all around. This restaurant is a dream come true. He continues, scanning the room. It is built on family tradition, on recipes passed down through generations, on the belief that food is love made visible. My parents, he pauses for effect, taught me that the kitchen is where families come together, where stories are told, where bonds are made. My parents. I sit in my dark corner and listen to my son invoke me like a ghost, like a memory, like something that existed only to give him a backstory. We carry that tradition forward tonight. Every dish on this menu comes from my family's heritage. 4 generations of passion, of dedication, of love. 4 generations. His grandmother was a seamstress. His grandfather ran a laundry. His mother and I built those recipes from nothing. Over 4 decades of trial and error. There were no previous generations of chefs. There was only May and me, and the thousands of nights we spent in our kitchen, failing and trying again, and failing better until something extraordinary emerged from the ordinary. He lifts his glass. So tonight, I ask you to raise a glass with me. To family. To tradition. To the next chapter of our story. The room raises their glasses. To family. To tradition. The words echo like a prayer, in a language no one here truly speaks. Brandon drinks, smiles, sets down his glass. The applause fades. He turns to gesture toward the kitchen, ready to introduce the menu, ready to take credit one final time for 41 years of work that was never his. And I stand up. The chair scrapes against the polished concrete. A small sound in a large room. But enough. A few heads turn. Then more. The old man in the corner, standing, straightening his jacket, stepping out from behind the decorative screen into the light. I walk toward the front of the room. My shoes click against the floor in the sudden quiet. 20 steps. Each one steady. Each one deliberate. The crowd parts slightly. The way crowds do when they sense something is about to happen but do not yet know what. Brandon sees me. His champagne smile freezes. His eyes widen just slightly. A flicker of confusion. Then recognition. Then something else. Something colder. I reach the front, stand beside him. Close enough to see the vein pulsing in his temple. Close enough to smell his cologne. Expensive, unfamiliar. Nothing like the sesame oil and sweat I associate with my son. I look out at 83 faces. All watching. All waiting. I take the microphone from his unresisting hand. "Excuse me," I say. My voice is calm, measured. The voice of a man who has practiced this moment the way his son practiced a signature. I would like to say a few words about my son's restaurant. Every eye in the room turns to me. The old man in the corner no one had noticed. My son's face has gone white. And somewhere outside, I know Marcus Hall is watching through the window, waiting for one word. I look at Brandon one last time. Father to son. The last second, before the world changes. Then I pull out my phone, open the text to Lisa, and type a single word. Ready. The screen flickers. The food photographs disappear. For 1 second, the 65-inch display goes black. The room is still watching me, still waiting for whatever the old man at the microphone is about to say. They do not yet know that the screen behind me is about to speak louder than any words I could offer. Then the footage begins. Night vision. Gray-green. A kitchen table seen from above. A man sits alone. The timestamp reads, 11:22 p.m., 3 weeks ago. The man picks up a pen, opens a yellow legal pad, and begins writing a name that is not his. Over and over. Walter Chen. Walter Chen. Walter Chen. The room does not understand immediately. There is a murmur of confusion. People squint at the screen. Look at each other. Look at me. Look at Brandon. And then, one by one, they begin to recognize the man on the screen. The same man who just stood at this microphone and toasted to family tradition. I speak into the microphone. My voice is steady. What you are watching is security camera footage from my son's home, recorded over 3 weeks. It shows my son, Brandon Chen, practicing my signature in preparation for forging a $500,000 check from my bank account. The silence that falls is absolute. Not quiet. Silence. The kind that has weight and mass and temperature. The jazz trio has stopped. Servers have frozen mid-step. Champagne flutes hang in the air. Forgotten. The footage continues. A second clip now. Nicole appears beside Brandon at the table. Her voice comes through the speakers, thin and metallic but unmistakable. Tighter on the C. His C has that little hook at the bottom. See? And the N at the end trails off. Let it fade. A woman near the front gasps. Covers her mouth. The man beside her, an investor I recognize from the seating chart Marcus showed me, sets down his glass with a sharp click. His face has gone from confusion to comprehension to fury in the space of 10 seconds. That is his $50,000 sitting in the construction deposit for this restaurant. He is beginning to understand where it came from. I continue. This restaurant was funded with $238,000 stolen from my personal account through a series of unauthorized wire transfers. The recipes served tonight are mine, developed over 41 years by myself and my late wife. My son has never created a single dish in this kitchen. He has never cooked professionally. He has been taking credit for my work for 2 years, while I cooked 18 hours a day without pay in his other location. Brandon has not moved. He stands 3 feet to my left, frozen the way prey freezes when the predator is too close to run from. His mouth is open. His eyes are fixed on the screen where his own hands, caught in high definition, practice stealing from his father night after night after night. The footage shifts again. The third clip. Brandon alone at the table, a phone pressed to his ear. His voice fills the room through the speakers. Yeah, I need to know about cashing a check for $500,000. What identification do you need? Is there a processing time? Someone at the back of the room stands up and walks toward the door. Then another person. Then 3 more. The exodus begins slowly. The way water finds cracks in a dam. People pulling out phones. Texting. Calling. Lawyers, I imagine. Financial advisors. Each one calculating their exposure. Their investment in this restaurant. Their connection to the man on the screen. Nicole breaks. I see it happen in real time. Her face cycles through shock, fury, calculation, and finally panic in the space of 5 seconds. She grabs her clutch from the bar, spins on her heel, and moves fast toward the side exit. Her heels strike the concrete floor in rapid staccato. She makes it 8 steps. A woman in a black blazer steps into her path. Calm. Professional. Badge in one hand, the other resting near her hip. Ma'am, I need you to stop. Nicole tries to go around her. A second officer appears. Male, tall, blocking the exit completely. Nicole's face crumbles. The footage is still playing. The final clip. Brandon writing the check. The camera captures everything. The date. The amount. $500,000. The signature. Fluid. And practiced. My name in his hand. He holds it up. Examines it. Nods. Folds it into his wallet. Walks out of frame. I turn off the microphone. Set it on the bar beside me. The room is chaos now, but controlled chaos. Voices rising. People standing. The investor in the gray suit is on his phone. His voice loud and sharp. I want my money back tonight. I do not care what it takes. Others are heading for the exits. The jazz trio has packed their instruments. Brandon still has not moved. He stands at the front of his beautiful restaurant, his navy suit perfect, his pocket square catching the light, and he watches the screen with the blank expression of a man watching his own house burn down. Then he turns to me. Slowly. The way you turn to face something you have been running from your whole life. Dad. His voice is a whisper. Broken. Barely human. I look at my son. At the man wearing the suit I did not buy. Standing in the restaurant I did not build. Surrounded by the wreckage of a life constructed on stolen recipes and forged signatures. And a father's love exploited past its breaking point. For the first time in 2 years, my son really sees me. Not the cook. Not the signature. Not the quiet old man in the attic. Me. His father. The man he betrayed. The officer approaches. Sir. The voice is professional, almost gentle. Brandon Chen, I have a warrant for your arrest. Forgery in the first degree. Conspiracy to commit financial fraud. Financial exploitation of a vulnerable adult. Brandon does not resist. He does not run. He does not protest. He simply extends his wrists, and the handcuffs close around them with a click so quiet it could be a whisper. Could be a prayer. Could be the sound of a door closing for the last time. They lead him past me. Close enough that I could reach out and touch him. Close enough that I can smell his cologne and see the tears tracking silently down his face. He stops. The officer pauses. Father and son, 3 feet apart. In a restaurant that lasted 47 minutes. I am sorry, Dad. His voice cracks on the last word. The word he has not said with sincerity in 2 years. Dad. Like he is a child again. Like he is 10 years old and has broken something precious and does not know how to fix it. I know, I say. And I mean it. I know he is sorry. I know it is not enough. I know both things can be true at the same time. They take him out the front door. Past the guests still gathered on the sidewalk. Past the investors on their phones. Past the jazz trio loading equipment into a van. Into the back of an unmarked car that pulls away from the curb without sirens. Quiet. Final. Lisa appears beside me. Her hand finds mine. She is crying. Not for him. For us. For what this cost. For the price of being right. The restaurant empties. The servers stand uncertain near the kitchen. Unsure if they still have jobs. The champagne tower stands untouched. The orchids on the tables have already begun to wilt under the heat of the lights. 47 minutes. That is how long my son's restaurant lasted. The same number as the practice signatures on that camera footage. I did not plan that coincidence. But I am a chef, and I have learned that the best dishes are the ones that season themselves. The morning after the arrest, my phone rings 14 times before noon. I answer none of them. The caller IDs tell me everything I need to know. Brandon's business partner. Nicole's sister. A cousin in Sacramento I have not spoken to in 6 years. May's brother in San Francisco. All of them calling to ask the same question. Dressed in different words, but wearing the same accusation underneath. How could you do this to your own son? I sit in Lisa's guest room, the one with the blue curtains and the quilt her mother-in-law made, and I let the phone ring. Lisa brings me tea at 8. Toast at 9. At 10 she sits on the edge of the bed and says nothing for a full minute. Then, quietly. You do not have to talk to any of them. I know. They do not know what happened. They only know what it looks like from the outside. I know that too. She leaves me alone. I drink the tea. It is oolong. The same kind May used to brew every afternoon. Lisa remembered. Or maybe she chose it on purpose. Either way, it tastes like a kindness I am not sure I deserve. By Tuesday, the calls have shifted from family to strangers. A reporter from the Atlanta Journal-Constitution. A producer from a local news station. Someone who claims to represent a podcast about financial crimes. Marcus handles all of them. No comment. No interviews. No statements. The story, he tells me, has made the rounds on social media. Restaurant owner arrested at his own grand opening. Elderly father exposes son's forgery scheme with hidden camera footage. The details are mostly wrong, exaggerated, turned into entertainment for people who do not know us. but the core is accurate enough to make me sick. Wednesday afternoon. A letter arrives at Lisa's house, forwarded from Marcus's office. The envelope is thin. County Detention Center return address. Brandon's handwriting on the front, the same slanted script I watched him practice into my name for 3 weeks. I hold it for a long time before opening it. Sit at Lisa's kitchen table with the envelope flat on the surface in front of me, my hands on either side of it. Like it might move if I look away. Lisa sees me from the doorway. You do not have to read it, I know. But I open it anyway. Dad. I do not know where to start. I do not know if there are words for what I have done to you. I am not writing this to ask for forgiveness because I know I do not deserve it. I am writing because if I do not say this now, I might never have the courage to say it. I knew what I was doing was wrong. Every time I sat at that table and practiced your name, I knew. Every time Nicole whispered instructions, I knew. When I walked into that check-cashing store, I knew. I told myself it was different because we were family. Because you had more than you needed. Because Nicole said you would never miss it. But those are excuses, not reasons. The truth is simpler and worse. I was greedy. I was weak. I wanted money I did not earn. And I told myself whatever story I needed to hear to make it feel justified. You were living in my attic, cooking in my kitchen, paying me rent, and I was stealing from you. There is no version of that story where I am not the villain. I am sorry, Dad. I am sorry for the money. I am sorry for the signatures. I am sorry for the fake doctor and the power of attorney and the years I let Nicole treat you like you did not matter. I am sorry for every morning you woke up in that room and every night you fell asleep in it. I am sorry for taking credit for your food and your recipes and your life's work. I am sorry for not being the son you raised me to be. I do not expect you to write back. I do not expect anything. But I needed you to know that I know what I did, and I know it was wrong. Brandon. I read it twice. Fold it carefully along the original creases. Place it back in the envelope. And I put it in the drawer of the guest room dresser, beneath my socks, the same place I kept the Pacific Harvest statement in the attic. Hidden. Safe. Unresolved. I do not write back. Not yet. Some wounds need air before you can touch them without bleeding. Thursday. Marcus calls with news. His voice has that particular quality it gets when he is about to deliver information that changes the shape of something. We ran a full background check on Nicole Chen, he says. Standard procedure for fraud cases involving multiple parties. Robert, she has a prior record. I close my eyes. Somehow I am not surprised. What did she do? 8 years ago. Different state. California. Different name. She was Nicole Vargas then. She ran a similar scheme on an elderly man in Pasadena, befriended him through a community center, gained his trust, eventually convinced him to add her to his bank accounts. She drained $73,000 before his daughter noticed the withdrawals. She pleaded guilty to identity theft and financial exploitation. Served 14 months. The room is very quiet. Lisa stands in the doorway, listening. Her face has gone still. Your son married a professional, Marcus says. Whether he knew or not, the woman he chose as a partner had already done this before. The pattern is identical. Target an elderly person with means. Gain access to their finances. Exploit the family relationship. Extract funds. Brandon did not know, I say. I am certain of this. The shock on his face when Nicole ran for the door. The way he stood frozen while the footage played. He did not know who he married. He only knew who she made him become. Regardless, Marcus continues. This strengthens our case significantly. The DA will use her prior conviction to establish pattern. She will face additional charges. And for Brandon, it provides context. His lawyer will argue that he was manipulated by a repeat offender. It may help at sentencing. Will it help him? I ask. A pause. Honestly, it might reduce his sentence, but it will not erase what he did. Nothing can erase what he did. He made choices. He signed things. He practiced your name 47 times. Manipulation or not, those were his hands. I nod. Though Marcus cannot see it through the phone. His hands. The same hands I taught to hold a knife. The same hands that once reached for mine when he was small and afraid of the dark. I thank Marcus. Hang up. Sit in the quiet of Lisa's guest room and think about my son sitting in a cell, discovering that the woman he married was never who she claimed to be. Learning that he was not the first person she turned into a thief, understanding, maybe for the first time, that he was both perpetrator and victim in a story he never fully controlled. It does not excuse him. Nothing excuses him. But it makes me wonder if somewhere inside the man who forged my name, there is still a boy who could have chosen differently if someone different had been whispering in his ear. I open the drawer. Look at the envelope. His handwriting. His words. His apology. That is not enough, and might never be enough, but is at least, finally, honest. I close the drawer. Not today, but maybe someday. 6 weeks between the arrest and the trial. 6 weeks of waiting. Of Lisa's guest room and quiet mornings, and the slow rebuilding of days that do not revolve around a commercial kitchen. I cook for Lisa's family now. Small meals. Simple ones. Sophia helps me measure rice and crack eggs and stir things that do not require heat. It is the first time in 2 years that cooking feels like love instead of labor. The courthouse is on Pryor Street in downtown Atlanta. A gray building with columns that are supposed to suggest dignity and permanence. Inside, it smells like floor wax and recycled air. Lisa walks beside me. Marcus ahead of us. His briefcase in one hand, his presence steady and certain. We take the elevator to the 4th floor. Courtroom 412. Brandon is already there when we enter. He sits at the defense table in a dark suit I do not recognize. His hair is shorter than the last time I saw him. His face, thinner. 6 weeks in county detention have taken something from him. Or perhaps returned something. He looks younger somehow. Smaller. Like the suit is wearing him, instead of the other way around. He turns when the door opens. Our eyes meet across 20 feet of courtroom. He does not smile, does not wave, just holds my gaze for 3 seconds, then looks away. His lawyer, a woman in her 40s with sharp features and a navy blazer, leans in and whispers something. He nods without appearing to hear. The prosecution opens with facts. Clean, methodical, devastating. Assistant District Attorney James Powell is a tall man with a quiet voice that forces the room to listen. He lays the timeline flat like a blueprint. The discovery of the financial statements, the 3 weeks of recorded practice sessions, the forged check for $500,000, the series of unauthorized wire transfers totaling $238,000, the hidden camera footage, the bank's fraud report, the security tape from the check cashing store in Decatur. The evidence plays on a screen beside the judge's bench. The same footage that played at the grand opening. But here it is. Clinical. Entered into record. Time-stamped and authenticated and entered as Exhibits 1 through 14. The jury watches Brandon's hands practice my name. They watch Nicole lean over his shoulder and whisper corrections. They watch him dial the check cashing service and ask about limits. Then the prosecution presents the background check on Nicole. Her prior conviction in California. Identity theft. Financial exploitation of a vulnerable adult. 14 months served. Different name. Different state. Same crime. Same pattern. The jury shifts in their seats. Someone in the gallery makes a sound like air escaping. Brandon's face when this information is read into the record is something I will carry for the rest of my life. He did not know. I was right about that. The color drains from his skin. His jaw goes slack. He turns in his seat and looks at the gallery where Nicole would have been sitting if she were not in a separate holding facility awaiting her own trial. The empty seat speaks louder than any testimony. His lawyer argues what she can. Manipulation by a repeat offender. A young man under the influence of a predatory partner. No prior criminal record. A history of community involvement. Character witnesses who speak of his generosity, his charm, his good nature. But the footage is the footage. The signatures are the signatures. The check is the check. 47 practice sessions. $500,000. His own father. Brandon takes the stand in his own defense. His lawyer asks him to explain. And for the first time, I hear my son tell the truth. Not the version he prepared. Not the performance. The truth. She found the statement in his wallet, he says. His voice is raw, stripped of the charm I have heard him use on customers and investors and strangers his whole life. She showed me the numbers. The Lemurv, 2.8 million. 750,000 a year, and she said we deserved it. That he was old and would not live forever. That the money would just go to waste. Did you believe that? His lawyer asks. No. He looks down at his hands. I knew it was wrong. Every night I sat at that table and practiced his signature. I knew. But she made it sound logical. She made it sound like we were not really stealing. Just taking what would eventually come to us anyway. He pauses. Swallows. And I wanted to believe her. Because believing her meant I did not have to feel guilty about what I was already doing. About the rent. About the free labor. About treating my father like he was less than what he is. The courtroom is still. Even the judge has stopped writing. I am not blaming her, Brandon continues. His voice cracks. She did not hold my hand over that check. She did not forge his name for me. I did that. I practiced until I could do it perfectly, and then I walked into a store and handed them a piece of paper with my father's name on it and tried to take $500,000 that was not mine. That was me. That was my choice. He looks at me then. Directly. Through the distance of the courtroom. Through 6 weeks of silence and one letter I never answered. I am sorry, Dad. Not because I got caught. Because I did it at all. The victim impact statement comes next. Marcus prepared it with me. But the words are mine. I keep it brief. I stand at the podium and look at the jury, and I say what I need to say. I raised my son to be honest. To work hard. To respect people regardless of what they could offer him. For 2 years I lived in his home, and I watched those values disappear. I do not stand here today seeking revenge. I stand here because accountability is the last thing a parent can offer a child who has lost his way. Holding him responsible is not cruelty. It is still my job. Even now, the jury deliberates for 2 hours. Guilty on all counts. Forgery in the first degree. Conspiracy to commit financial fraud. Financial exploitation of a vulnerable adult. The judge sentences him the following week. 4 years probation. $60,000 in restitution and fines. Mandatory therapy. Financial crimes. Education program. A felony on his record that will follow him for the rest of his life. No prison time. Conditioned on full compliance with every requirement. It is more lenient than it could have been. The judge cites his lack of prior record, his cooperation, his genuine remorse. Marcus says the prior conviction of Nicole weighed heavily. The jury saw a young man manipulated by a professional criminal. Not an excuse. But a contexte. Outside the courthouse, January air cuts through my coat. Lisa holds my arm as we walk toward the parking deck. The trial is over. The sentence delivered. The chapter closed. Then I hear his voice behind me. Dad! I stop. Turn. Brandon stands 10 feet away. His lawyer beside him but silent. He is free on his own recognizance pending the start of probation. His suit hangs looser than it did 6 weeks ago. His eyes are red-rimmed. Exhausted. Can we talk someday? Just us? No lawyers. I look at my son, at the man who stole from me and lied to me and let his wife threaten me, at the man who just stood in a courtroom and told the truth for the first time in years, at the boy I carried home from the hospital in a yellow blanket. Not today, I say. But someday. He nods, accepts it, does not push. Thank you, he whispers. I turn and walk toward the parking deck. Lisa beside me, the January wind at my back. And for the first time since Easter, I do not look over my shoulder. 13 months after the trial. A Saturday in February. The kind of winter day Atlanta gives you sometimes as a gift, cold but bright. The sky scrubbed clean by a front that passed through overnight. I am driving through the east side of the city on my way home from the farmer's market. A bag of fresh ginger and Thai basil on the passenger seat. When I pass a building I have driven past 100 times without really seeing. Hope Street Community Center. A converted warehouse with a painted mural on the side wall. Children playing. Hands reaching. A sun rising over stylized buildings. I know this place vaguely. Ah, Lisa mentioned it once. They run an evening meal program for people without stable housing. Volunteers cook and serve dinner 6 nights a week. 200 meals on a good night. I have been meaning to volunteer there myself. Part of the new life I am building. The one where my hands serve people who need feeding, instead of people who take it for granted. But I have not made it through the door yet. Today is not the day I plan to start. Today I am just driving past. Except today I look through the window. The kitchen is visible from the street, a long commercial space with stainless steel counters and a 6-burner range. Through the glass I can see figures moving. Aprons. Steam. The familiar choreography of a working kitchen, and one of those figures is my son. I pull the car to the curb. Sit with the engine idling. Stare through the window like a man watching a dream he is not sure he is having. Brandon stands at the stove, stirring something in a large stock pot. He wears a white apron over a plain gray t-shirt. No logo, no embroidery, no name on the chest. His sleeves are rolled to the elbow, and his forearms are red from steam. He moves with an ease I have never seen in him before. Not the performance of confidence he used to wear at his restaurant. Something quieter. More honest. The economy of movement you develop when you have been doing the same task for a long time and have stopped trying to make it look impressive. He does not see me. He is focused on the pot, on the work, on whatever he is building in that steel vessel with his own 2 hands. I drive home. Do not stop. Do not go in. But I call Lisa that evening. How long has he been volunteering at Hope Street? A pause. 6 months, she says carefully. He started after his community service hours were completed. He did not have to keep going. He chose to. She hesitates. He asked me not to tell you. He said he did not want you to think it was for show, that he was just doing it to impress you. I sit with that for 3 days. Turn it over the way I turn a recipe in my head, examining it from every angle, looking for what is genuine and what is performance. But there is no audience at Hope Street, no investors to charm, no critics to impress, just 200 hungry people and a kitchen that needs hands. On Tuesday, I drive back, park across the street. This time, I get out of the car. The dinner service is already underway when I walk through the side door. The kitchen is louder than it looked from outside. Pots clanging. Volunteers calling out to each other. The hiss of onions hitting a hot pan. The smell of garlic and cumin and something slow-cooked that fills the air with warmth. Brandon is at the same station. The stove. His back to me. He is ladling soup into serving containers. His movements efficient and practiced. A young woman beside him plates bread. Another volunteer carries trays toward the serving window, where a line of people waits, patient and quiet. I stand in the doorway for a full minute, watching my son cook. Really cook. Not for money. Not for credit. Not for a review or a grand opening, or a lie. Just to feed people who are hungry. He turns to grab more containers from the shelf behind him. And he sees me. His body goes still. The ladle frozen in his hand. Soup dripping slowly back into the pot. His eyes wide. His mouth open, but forming no words. We look at each other across 10 feet of kitchen, across 13 months of silence, and one letter I never answered, and a sentence that included the word someday. Dad. His voice is barely above a whisper. What are you doing here? I drove past, I say. Saw you through the window. He sets the ladle down. Wipes his hands on his apron. His movements are careful, uncertain, like he is handling something fragile. How long have you been watching? Long enough to see you actually working. Something flickers across his face. Not quite a smile. Something closer to relief. Or maybe hope. The kind you do not let yourself fully feel, because you have learned that hope is expensive and you are trying to live within your means. The kitchen moves around us. Other volunteers passing between stations, carrying things, washing things. The normal chaos of a meal service in progress. No one pays us particular attention. We are just two men standing in a kitchen, father and son separated by steam and time, and the things that cannot be undone. Can I help? I ask. He blinks. You want to cook? Here? I did not drive across the city to watch. He hesitates. Then he moves to the side. Makes space at the stove. Hands me a clean apron from the hook on the wall. It is thin and worn and smells like industrial detergent. I tie it around my waist. Step up to the station beside him. Look into the stock pot. Chicken soup. Simple. Honest. Under-seasoned. This needs ginger, I say. He almost laughs. It catches in his throat and comes out as something between a cough and a breath. It always needs ginger. I can never get it right. He pauses. Mom's recipe, the one she made when anyone was sick. I have been trying to recreate it from memory for 6 months. It never tastes right. I look at the pot. At the pale broth and the floating vegetables and the chicken that has been cooked correctly but without soul. May's chicken soup was not about ingredients. It was about knowing when to add what. The ginger at the start, crushed, not sliced, to build the base. The white pepper at the end, just before serving, to wake everything up. The dash of fish sauce that she would never admit to using because it was not traditional but made everything better. Here, I say. Watch. I take the ginger from the prep station. Crush it with the flat of a knife. Drop it into the pot. The aroma rises immediately, sharp and clean and achingly familiar. Brandon watches my hands. The way he used to watch when he was 10 years old and I was teaching him how a kitchen works. Show me, he says quietly. Show me how she made it. I show him. Step by step, the way May showed me 30 years ago in our first kitchen, the one above the noodle house. When we were young and broke and building something beautiful out of nothing but stubbornness and love. We cooked together for 2 hours. We do not talk about the trial. We do not talk about the money or the signatures or the camera or the 47 minutes his restaurant lasted. We talk about temperature and timing and the way a broth changes when you let it simmer past the point of impatience. When the service ends, we stand side by side washing pots at the big industrial sink. Our sleeves rolled up. Our hands in the same soapy water. The same work shared between us for the first time in longer than I can count. We did not hug. We did not cry. We just cooked. And for the first time in years, that was enough. Spring comes to Atlanta the way it always does. Sudden and generous. One week, the dogwoods are bare sticks against a gray sky. The next, they are exploding in white and pink, every yard blushing like a bride. The air smells like fresh mulch, and the particular sweetness of azaleas opening their first blooms. I kneel on the balcony of my apartment, a 2-bedroom on the 3rd floor, 6 minutes from Lisa's house. Morning sun falls warm across my shoulders. My hands are in soil. Beside me, Sophia crouches with the intensity of a 6-year-old given an important task. She holds a basil seedling in both hands like it is made of glass. Grandpa, where does this one go? Right here, sweetheart. Gently. The roots do not like to be squeezed. She places it with exaggerated care. Presses the soil around it with her small fingers. Will it grow big if we take care of it? Water it. Give it sun. Talk to it sometimes. She giggles. You cannot talk to plants, Grandpa. Your grandmother did. Every morning. She told them what she was going to cook with them. I think they grew faster because they wanted to be part of the meal. Sophia leans down and whispers to the basil. You are going to be in dumplings. I laugh. The sound comes from somewhere deep, somewhere that was locked for 2 years and has only recently found its key. This apartment is mine. Bought, not rented. A kitchen with an east-facing window that pours morning light across the counter. May's portrait above the fireplace, rehung in its rightful place. The camera long since removed. A spare bedroom Sophia calls hers, though she only sleeps here on occasional Friday nights. 3 mornings a week, I walk to a rented commercial kitchen on Moreland Avenue. The sign reads, May's Kitchen. Community cooking classes. Free. All welcome. I teach 20 students at a time. College students who have never boiled water. Single mothers wanting something better than fast food. Retirees looking for community. I teach them what May and I learned over 41 years. How to hold a knife. How to build a broth. How to cook with your hands and your nose instead of a recipe card. The classes are funded by a trust I established. May's Kitchen Foundation. Miguel runs the kitchen on days I am not there. He left Golden Walk after the arrest and is becoming a fine chef. Patient. Precise. He will surpass me someday. Tuesday and Thursday evenings, I cook at Hope Street Community Center. Brandon works the line beside me on Thursdays. We do not talk much during service. Just cook, call out times, pass containers. Afterward, we wash pots, and sometimes sit in his car for 10 minutes, talking about nothing important. He calls every 2 weeks, visits once a month. He works as a line cook in Decatur now. Someone else's name on the sign. $12 an hour. He comes home smelling like fryer oil and tells me he is happier than he has been in years. I believe him, not because he says it, because the charm no longer needs an audience to exist. The divorce from Nicole was finalized in March. She pleaded guilty to the California charges, reopened after her arrest. Separate trial, separate sentence. She is not my story to tell. This evening, after Sophia has gone home, I sit at my kitchen table with May's journal. The leather-bound book she gave me on our 40th anniversary. Write to me, she had said. When I am gone. I open to a fresh page. May. It has been 2 years since the trial. I want you to know I am okay. More than okay. I did not lose a son. I lost the version of him that was never real, the one who needed money and status to feel whole. In its place, something better is growing, slowly, with patience and sunlight. I believe God did not waste our pain. He used it the way fire uses wood, to transform, to illuminate, to warm the people standing near enough to feel it. You said that in the hospital. God does not waste pain, Walter. He composts it, turns it into soil for something new. You were right. You were always right. Sophia plants basil in that soil. Brandon is learning to grow in it. And I am resting in it. Finally, I am at rest. I close the journal. Through the kitchen window, the last light turns the balcony garden gold. The basil Sophia planted is impossibly small. A single stem, 2 leaves, but it is alive, and tomorrow it will be slightly larger. That is how healing works. Not in grand gestures or courtroom revelations, but in the daily, quiet act of choosing to grow, of choosing to feed, of choosing to remain soft in a world that gives you every reason to harden. My hands are steady. My kitchen is warm. And the recipes May and I built together are feeding more people than we ever imagined. Not through a corporation, through a small kitchen where strangers become students, become family. That is the legacy. Not the money. The legacy is a 6-year-old whispering to a basil plant, a son washing pots beside his father, a classroom full of people learning that food is love made visible. If you have been invisible in your own family, if you have been treated like furniture by people who should have treated you like treasure, know this. Your worth is not determined by how others treat you. It is determined by how you treat yourself when no one is watching. God sees you. Even in the basement, even in the attic, even in the silence between what you deserve and what you receive. He sees you, and He has not forgotten. Protect yourself. Document everything. Find your advocates. Stand up, not with hatred, but with the quiet certainty of someone who knows their own value. If this story meant something to you, share it with someone who needs to hear it. Leave a comment and tell me your story. I read every single one. Subscribe so you do not miss what comes next. And remember, the best meals are not the most expensive ones. They are the ones cooked with love, served with honesty, and shared with people who see you for exactly who you are. Thank you for being here. Thank you for listening. Thank you for choosing to stay until the end.